They tell you the economy is recovering. Jobs are back, markets are up, headlines are smiling again. And yet somehow, the money isn't ending up where you are. That isn't bad luck, and it isn't temporary. It's the system working exactly as designed. Right now matters because we're living through another so-called recovery. After a shock, after stimulus, after rate changes, after promises that things will trickle back. But if you've lived through more than one of these cycles, you've probably noticed a pattern. Each time, wealth concentrates faster. Each time, the gap widens. Each time, the people who already had money come out stronger, while everyone else is told to be patient. So let's slow this down. No slogans, no blame games, just mechanics. Imagine money is water in a city. When a storm hits, the government opens emergency reservoirs. Liquidity floods the system. That's what stimulus, bailouts, and central bank interventions really are. Controlled floods meant to prevent collapse. But here's the part we don't talk about. Water flows through pipes. And those pipes are already owned. When new money enters the economy, it doesn't start at the bottom. It enters through banks, financial institutions, asset markets, and government spending channels. In other words, it starts at the top of the structure and works its way down, if it ever gets there. This isn't a conspiracy, it's plumbing. Banks receive cheap capital first. Large firms borrow at lower rates. Asset owners see prices rise almost immediately. Stocks react in days, real estate follows, bonds reprice, balance sheets inflate. Wages don't. If you rely on labor instead of capital, your part of the system reacts last. Raises lag, job security lags, purchasing power lags, and by the time money reaches you, prices have already adjusted upward. That's why recoveries feel fake, because by the time you're included, the gains have been absorbed elsewhere. Here's where the uncomfortable math comes in. Most people earn money once. Wealth earns money continuously. When asset prices rise, owners don't just get richer on paper, they gain collateral. Collateral unlocks cheaper credit. Cheaper credit allows more asset purchases, which pushes prices higher again. It's a loop. Meanwhile, debt works in the opposite direction for everyone else. Your loan doesn't inflate away fast enough. Your interest rate adjusts faster than your income, and your spending is constrained precisely when prices are rising. So even in growth, gravity pulls upward. Now let's talk about incentives, because this is where the system reveals itself. Governments are judged on growth numbers. Markets are judged on performance. Institutions are judged on stability. None of these metrics require money to be evenly distributed. In fact, concentrated capital often looks healthier on paper. Rising markets signal confidence. Strong asset prices signal stability. High consumption at the top masks weakness below. So policies naturally favor whatever keeps markets calm. That's why crises are treated like emergencies for capital, but slow erosion for labor. A crashing stock market is urgent. Falling real wages are unfortunate. One gets immediate intervention, the other gets speeches. There's a quiet irony here. We're told capitalism rewards risk, but the biggest risks are repeatedly socialized, while the gains remain private. When things go well, profits are protected. When things go badly, liquidity appears. Recovery isn't about rebuilding from the bottom up. It's about reinflating the structures that already exist. That's why the headlines don't match lived reality. You hear strong economy while savings vanish. You hear market confidence while rent surges. You hear growth while debt quietly becomes permanent. Zoom out, and this pattern isn't new. After every major crisis, the 1970s, the 2000s, 2008, 2020, asset concentration accelerates. Each intervention saves the system but reshapes ownership. Capital becomes more centralized, labor becomes more replaceable, and the next cycle begins from a steeper imbalance. This doesn't mean collapse is imminent. It means direction matters more than speed. An economy can grow while becoming less livable. Markets can rise while opportunity narrows. Stability for capital can coexist with fragility for people. So when you hear money flows up, it's not a metaphor, it's a description of design, of entry points, of incentives, of math that compounds quietly year after year. The real question isn't whether the economy will recover again, it's whether a system built to push money upward can ever produce a recovery that actually reaches down, or whether what we call recovery is just the reset button on the same imbalance, pressed over and over until gravity does the rest.